a new perspective is being gained, a really wider perspective, which is allowing somebody to reach new heights in their journey. Okay, someone's really understanding, or they're coming into the understanding that, especially if you're in the divine journey, divines and twins, the understanding that where they're being pulled to isn't necessarily to do with, their person or anything. It's to do with their presence here and how it's needed and how they're helping wider, kind of the wider collective. I did a message, it was towards the end of 2024 actually. It's too many cards, and it's really similar to that. It's kind of like understanding that your light has such a power that even when your presence enters a certain environment, you don't realize the impact it's having. It's transmuting shadows that are existing there, right? Really powerful. Ace of Swords, new perspective. It's also coming with the understanding of a better understanding of what needed to go for the reasons that it needed to, what they needed to release, the emotional release that needed to come through. That makes sense. And actually how they've learned to do things better. Okay. This wider perspective is definitely something to do with someone's, I'm hearing addictions, okay, specifically. That's coming through. King of Wands at the bottom of the deck as well, okay. Yeah, massively. There's definitely something coming through here about addictions, okay. The Devil here, and then someone's definitely holding back because they've run off lust a lot, right? I say lust, it's not even lust. I think it's just this impulsive nature within them. It's like they have, I'm feeling this energy in the sacral way. It's just like, it's almost like, it's just like this. It feels like that. It's like the only way that they know how to handle that is to kind of release that energy in the quickest way they can, which is obviously, basically they don't learn how to hone in on that energy with themselves, and this is where they're gaining a better perspective. Got the Wheel here, so things are changing. They're understanding how they left themselves feeling kind of down and out. I think that this was an energy that they could have really worked through these things together with. Having said that, this is definitely more to do with their healing that they've needed to do to get to this point, right? So there's definitely that energy of being pulled from the more desire-filled energies that have a hold on this person, particular King of Swords, very guarded with their emotions, but also I'm seeing something about unknown behaviors, very behind the scenes. Two of Swords, yeah. They want to correct something. Got the Justice card at the bottom as well. They want to correct something that they feel really, I've heard they feel sad without it. I think there's been a separation here. Four of Swords, yeah. They're in deep reflection mode. They're feeling their feelings instead of running away from them. But in doing so, they're really feeling the, I feel like they think, it's almost like they abandon themselves in their emotional needs, right? And they're thinking about kind of the ways that they acted that were really just from this really wounded and conflicted space. And also how much it was being upheld by their environment. People around them were kind of, supporting this kind of behavior that was just really, I keep hearing the word hedonistic, but very, romanticized as pleasure-filled, but really it was just their wounds playing out and just not having a healthy outlet, right? Really imbalanced energy, and their environment was supporting this. Okay, which is why this separation I'm sensing was kept apart even more. Yeah, wow. So there's this feminine energy who has no idea actually that someone sees her in this light. Someone's really hidden. They've kept whatever this is that happens inside them, whatever this addiction is, they've hidden it. It's like a secret and no one really knows about it. They might have very secretive behaviours about this as well, okay? I think that they think the more they hide it, the better chance they have at, being accepted and approved, that kind of thing. That's how it's been, right? But I think that, the wheels come out again. So I do think that they're kind of understanding that actually what they've been dealing with is kind of like, it's kind of like they made it worse in their own mind. So actually what they're dealing with isn't as uncommon, right? Because, addictions, you can feel like it's just you and, being, but they're realizing that actually there's more of an understanding that can be gained, and actually this person that they want to reconnect with would actually have more of an understanding than they previously thought, right? But that's because they're beginning to understand and accept themselves and their emotions and the truth of these addictions, okay? Chariot there, Seven of Swords as well. Yeah, been very kind of self-focused, self-indulgence, right? So it's kind of like they've wanted to please themselves, but at the same time they've known that this hasn't been healthy. But they've avoided accepting that and acknowledging that. So it's almost like a state of in denial. And there's been a lot of situations where they've kind of just got what they needed and gone, if you will. So, but they are thinking much more about, I think I've heard longer term, so they're kind of thinking about look at this 10 of Wands that's come out with the Devil as well, and they've carried this weight for a long time. They want to do things different, okay? Yeah, Six of Swords, they want to transition, the King of Cups. So we had the King of Wands before, and now we've got the King of Cups. So it's like they do want to transition into that more emotionally reliable energy. I think funny thing is, I think this is how they present on the outside to people around them. But when it comes to their own kind of like love life or whatever you want to call it, it's been, I've heard havoc, I've heard a mess, right? And I think it's just because they haven't addressed the addictions that are beneath the surface in a way where they've just not kept them hidden from everyone, everything, right? It's not about telling everyone, it's about accepting it yourself, right? And accepting that there are certain steps that you need to take in order to really overcome whatever this is, so that and have healthy tools in place, right? If there's certain things that someone desires, whatever, like I'm hearing specifically fantasies or whatever, there's healthier ways of processing and having the healthier outlets for this, okay? This is not a perspective that's coming easy to somebody in terms of understanding this, and I think it's because moving forwards they will be carrying this kind of the weight of this, addiction, I've said it before, it's not something you just get over and it's done, it's something that you learn to kind of manage, right? Again, those healthier kind of practices. And there's something about self-worth that's really important here as well, okay? King of Wands just come out. So I think someone's way more success-driven. Someone's very success-driven. And I think that this is kind of distracted their inner healing before, but now they're also understanding how to direct this energy in a more productive way, in a way that's way more aligned with them, like their purpose and their journey. They're understanding the relevance and the significance of that. It's definitely something they haven't spoken on, that's for sure. Can feel my throat getting really. The Death card there as well. So yeah, they're I've specifically heard Phoenix, so it might be that they're coming out of a recent death portal. They're having a bit of a rebirth here. We've got the Ace of Pentacles as well, so it could be a rebirth of self. And I do feel like maybe a rebirth of whatever this was that felt like it was lost. And, got the Nine of Cups here as well with the Ace of Pentacles. So it's kind of like this energy of wanting to... I'm seeing like, like in Aladdin, the genie. It's like the genie in the bottle, and they're wanting to kind of use that lamp now, but not from a place of where it's just been hedonistically led, which has been romantic. I'm seeing like glamour culture or something, so it's kind of like maybe they were already allowing like partying and certain substances and things that were just glamorized, if you will, certain lifestyles. So definitely somebody who's had like I'm seeing like flashing screens and things, like the star, just as I said that, flashing, the healing through, whatever it is. They've been praying about this, got the Two of Cups at the bottom of the deck. They've learnt prayer during whatever this cycle is. I think that I've heard specifically, they want to be intoxicated on what makes them feel good now. So it's like medicine, not like a drug, if you will. I think it's just they have this way of seeing things, right? Ace of Cups at the bottom of the deck. So it's kind of like the way they speak. I feel like they've got a bit of a creative flair about them, which is really beautiful, which makes complete sense because it's that sacral chakra, right? So I think it's like they're learning how to harness this energy differently in a healing way. So the way I explain that, it feels like, not everyone would understand it, right? Three of Wands here. So they want to move forward, and it is with this Queen of Wands energy. Two of Cups, who they find very attractive. I think this is another thing that stopped them, because of these addictions. It's kind of like they've not wanted to approach in that way where they're just being led by this, like, more like a darker energy, if you will, you know, if that's what you want to call it, just like the pulls on the energy. They want it to be, I feel like they want to bring forwards what feels like a gift and not a curse, which is a really interesting way of saying, oof, the Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck. This is definitely still on their mind. I mean, they have a lot of they have a lot of fantasies about this energy. I think that they see this energy in a very in a way that's, I think, you know, two ways. They look up to this energy, right? But they also I think that they're attracted to this energy more in a way they've never known before. And it makes sense, you know, if you're divines. The sun shall rise again. I'm getting the Lion King here. So that might be relevant for somebody. Maybe animal lover. This is what I meant. This is exactly what I meant. The Empress. This is how they see her. This is how this energy is seeing this divine feminine. The Empress sees her in absolute power, but also feels that they are guarded off to this energy, which means they did something to put her, you know, in that kind of, to be thinking that they're going to be cut off from her energy, you know, and that's where that loss came in, right? Again, it's to do with that fuel, whatever the addictions were. I feel like they might have had the opportunity to heal this through whatever this was, but their addictions got in the way, is what I'm getting, specifically. This is a while, you know, addictions are not, it takes a while to, first of all, to accept it, to accept this is what it is that someone's experiencing, then to really try and understand it, because you have to go all the way to the root core of yourself, to the very beginnings of what caused this, right? And even that's sometimes so blurry, and it's not easy to accept, you know, because there's some deep trauma, especially in the sacral. That's where it's stored. Judgment. They're awakening. This has not been an easy path for them, already. It kind of makes me emotional, because I think that they've had to do this alone, and you know, it's the path. They have the strength to do this. That's exactly why they're on this path, but they need to see that strength, and they're getting there. Okay. Page of Pentacles. So this is the offer that they want to bring in. It's so interesting that I said intoxicating, but this card always gives me that energy. Maybe that's what happened in the past, fueled by the norm, the known way of doing things, you know, whether it's like whatever substances, when they mix understanding of this is not how to proceed moving forwards. Stability and safety are not created from an intoxicated environment. They're from the heart. King of Cups, Ace of Cups. They're from the heart. We'll keep that there, actually. And think this is what they're understanding, that as they're healing through this, like this devil energy that's come through, the shadows, you know, which is, everybody has shadows to heal through. As they're recently releasing the conflicting energy, I think they've really struggled with this. That Five of Swords, they've struggled with this internally, internal battles. Safe for you to love. Serious internal battles here, but my God, are they reaching levels of emotional maturity? You know something, I'm seeing that they're going to be needed on a wider level, and this is why they've had to do this. There's going to be people who they're going to truly help, but they needed to reach a state of where they were emotionally capable. Not that they were incapable, I mean, like, able to hold this, so hold themselves in this, but eventually they're going to be helping others with this. Might be younger people than them, actually, as well. Deception, yeah. They weren't truthful. They weren't being honest with themselves fully, so they were wearing a mask. And I think that they might be wearing a mask still. Passion, deception, exactly what we've just been saying, right? They've thought that it was something to do with, you know, again, so that your society will support this. I've said it before, they'll applaud you and reward you for these behaviours that are truly just, you're hurting yourself. You're feeding your wounds and your traumas, and you're keeping yourself cycling in those lower chakras. You're not leveling up in terms of internally higher levels of seeing things. Finally, someone's understanding this, right? I think that they've certainly not approached. They're still in the background here. I think that they definitely walked away too fast, too soon, way too soon is what I'm seeing. And as a result, it's actually taken much longer to close out whatever this is that needed to. New love is on the way. New love. They might be even witnessing some kind of new love around them that's really feeding into this energy of wanting to pursue this sun energy, you know, get into that, like, that driving force, that healthily, because if they've got this sexual energy, they've got a lot of power inside them. They need to understand this and learn how to healthily harness this, right? There's a reason this has happened. So it's not about being guarded anymore. It's about having your boundaries in place, being really mindful of who and what can access your energy. Retreat, exactly. Disconnecting from the external. They might have a lot of, like, maybe like a online presence or something is what I've heard. I don't know. Something about just, or maybe they're, again, online behaviors. Maybe they're accessible and they're kind of understanding things differently, and they're not avoiding their attraction for whoever this is. I've just realized we've got the king and queens on the board. This could be a very attractive couple. Okay, a lot of, like, yeah, I think that they, you know, actually it's really interesting when you realize, I think they both had this, you go through life and you realize that actually you're bringing so much light to other people and you don't even realize it. You start asking, where about myself? People come into your life and suddenly their life is better, you know, things are happening for them. That's beautiful, because this is that impact that you're having, because you have that, your ability, you're here to do this, right? And I think that both these energies have experienced this, but they felt left down and out, like they've, you know, because they were outsourcing and validating externally without realizing this is their power. They can actually do this for themselves too, once they find and understand their divine alignment, their purpose. So whatever this time apart has been, you've both been really understanding and recognizing your worth. But also I think that you're both very, you have, people are often fueled, that you're attractive, both attractive. And you understand this around you, but you've also been pulled into that in your own ways, right? But you're seeing things differently. You're seeing from that wider perspective now. You're understanding there was a reason for you to call your power back to you, release your ex. Past energies, that is. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone. You might also be getting kind of signs to do with exes, you know, like even karmic exes. So it's kind of like reminding you of the energy. Sometimes you can get the signs, and when you've healed through, you don't really think about it. You just think, oh, that's weird, or whatever. You get on with your day. But take note, because I think that especially if there's something closing out, there could be some things that are coming up just to remind you of what you don't want to take moving forward. That energy. Yeah, that way, or even just so you can be prepared and aware to do things differently, keeping an open mind. So yeah, this is definitely going to be, things are going to be done differently here. Honeymoon, separation at the bottom of the deck there as well, okay. I think that there's a need to really, I think the different thing here is not going straight in and led by that passion, that energy. And the honeymoon phase is going to have nothing to do with that passion or energy. It's going to have everything to do with creating safety, trust, romantic, exploring your feelings without bombarding it with this, with all that, you know, that like chemistry, that kind of energy, but actually exploring the feelings that you have. It's time to access the heart space and do so with so much courage, because it's going to take courage. Yeah, it feels like. Okay, let's see. Forgiving and learning. Yeah, deception, forgiving and learning. As you release and heal the past, you experience more love in the present moment. Yeah, you're going to need to, that's what it is. You can't go straight into that you might both really feel it, I can tell, but you can't be led by that. Yeah, it's just going to lead to another separation. And this is true love. You need to do things differently. Do you want this again, or do you want true love, heart-to-heart conversations? Right? It's about really creating that safe space now. You don't need to run on the lust because you think, oh, you're scared that it's going to go. It's not going anywhere. And at the end of the day, if there's more that you need, healing that you need to do, then you go, you do it. If something happens, then you recognize that and you focus on that healing. You are lovable. Self-love. You know, I think somebody maybe draws back on like this kind of power I've heard specifically, and that's coming from that the arrogant energies that I don't use that word usually anyway, arrogant, so that's come through for a reason, but that energy of like ego-led, you know, they'll use that energy, like that fuel, like, oh, you know, I've heard specifically like feeling like they're a god when it comes to like these activities, you know what I mean? So they think that that's their way forward and like no one can not want them then or something. I don't know, this is really interesting. But the irony is actually people have left the scene, you know, they have lost. You felt like they've lost emotionally because they've not gone forward with emotion. They've led from whatever it is, making an effort, finances and career. That makes so much sense to focus on your abundance as well. Again, connect to that sacral energy. Healing. Okay, yeah, the attraction is here. It's safe for you to love. Again, you have to both trust that it's safe for you to heart-to-heart conversations. These three just want to come out. True love, heart-to-heart conversations, and it's safe for you to love. Okay, so there's definitely something happening there in terms of the kind of finances as well. I think someone could be really clearing through that. They might have acted in ways that, again, weren't in alignment, if you will. They were more from led from a shadowy space. And again, I'm getting this energy of just external influence that was not healthy. That was more like, this dark, that like behind the trees and stuff. Just like those shadowy elements. So conclusions are within reach. A new start, it's coming. Conclusions are within reach. Full moon eclipse might have been important. It might be. I'm hearing something about when someone was born. Maybe they were born. And an eclipse, something. Don't let pride get in your way. Leo energy. It's time to release negativity. You know what's really funny? I put that Leo card on the Sun and the King of Wands. That's major Leo energy. So we're going, Leo season might be important, but maybe that's in like your top 3 or something. It's an important energy. Okay. Again, you have to have that bold energy to move forward, but it's important to remember that Leo is courage from the heart. Leo rules the heart, right? It's courage from the heart space. Okay. What do you need to release? You can access that courage of the heart, time to give rather than take. You access that courage of the heart once you clear through everything that's stopping you from seeing your worth, that's keeping you stuck in that trauma and wounded space, right? You have to create that safety within you. Virgo season, so it could be that this summer is going to be really important for this progress as well, moving forward. Your hard work is paying off. Capricorn energy, again, that Capricorn season is ruled by the devil, right? So it's really about working hard. Your hard work is paying off. So clearly someone's been really facing the heaviness in order to really clear it. And that means they've had to take that step in terms of that emotional maturity to say, okay, I want to do this. I'm ready to do this, whatever it takes, because you don't always know, okay? It's time to take action. Aries energy, very fiery. The Emperor is usually that energy as well. Just divine masculine. I think that perhaps they've been way too impulsive in the past. That's led them to impulsive situations. Be bold and make the first move. Wow. Someone really wants to believe in the impossible. Someone really wants to take action here. And they know that it's going to require honesty, no more deception. When you're in a wounded space, you'll wear masks. You'll be behind the scenes or whatever. But when you're in your healed, more divine energy, you want to show up. You want to come forwards. You know what I mean? So I think that this means that you have to face that. I've heard specifically the consequences of your actions. I really think this is someone who feels like they're really like, they have no idea what they're going to be met with. Take time to breathe out. But I think that they're really creating something in their mind. It's really feels like a lot. They need to think about who they're dealing with. Expect powerful change. I don't know. If they're moving towards a divine feminine energy, then you need to have more faith in their internal divine feminine too. Communication is key. You have to communicate. If you're feeling scared, vulnerable, whatever, communicate. That's how you can bring love into the situation together. There's going to 100% be a need to be honest about what's been happening behind the scenes, because there's been, I'm hearing multiple things, the ex, so there's definitely been these people that have been helping this person kind of circulate through these addictions, through these ways of staying out of their divine alignment, if you will. I've also heard they've been fed a lot of kind of almost like energy and information to keep them little. People have seen their light. Oh my God, they are the sun. Like, come on. They're the sun, and they've been hidden for so long because people have seen their light and they've allowed them to feed into the way that they think about themselves, basically. They're finally seeing themselves way more than they have before. 818 might be important for somebody. Yeah, there's definitely this forward movement though. And it's going to require you to really honor yourselves, even in the situation. You have to see yourselves. You have to see that you're in order to really move forwards from that place of love, from the heart space, you cannot be led by the fantasy and the impulse, right? Yes. Now, when you get into that situation with somebody and you can feel that energy within you, speak on it. I can feel like this, but I don't want it to act like this, because I don't want this to go the way to before. I don't want another separation, but this is how I feel. How could you be surprised? Maybe you can both really think about a way through, breathe through these energies to align with each other. That's the whole point. You're meant to align this with each other. Instead of kind of feeling like you're carrying this baggage, this heavy burden, communication is going to be so important here, truly. And disconnecting from kind of, if you want this new kind of love to come through with each other, you're going to need to disconnect from all of the energies that have been pulling you away. But I also feel like there's going to be this opportunity to kind of come together, to disconnect from the external so that you can have that space together. But obviously, maybe it's important that you talk on the phone or something as well, but there's definitely action coming. Okay, someone's releasing right now anything that's keeping them back from being their authentic and vulnerable, honest self. As they come forward with their truth, you're going to see that they're not who you thought they were. It's important to remember that, because this is somebody who's wearing masks. They weren't telling you the truth of who they are, which includes the addictions that they've had, but also what they've experienced, their traumas and that kind of thing. So that's where you're needing to keep an open mind as well, because this is not going to be someone who fits a template. They're their unique self, and they want to show you that. So they're really, they don't want it to turn into them being abandoned and walked away from, or not understood or wherever. So there's going to be a requirement for calling in that peace, that balance, that equilibrium, right, for both of you in this energy, to really say, okay, here's truth, and how can we move forwards? Okay, let me know if this message was for you. Sending love.